Okay, I'm gonna try out Spreaker, just because I don't typically really film anything, and it makes it less likely for me to record very often because I don't want to just, be doing whatever I'm doing and record it, so I just walk around aimlessly. So I wanted to talk real quickly about this really incredible, weird experience I had right after I got saved. It was a few months before Cornell died. So I had really been getting a crash course in like Luciferian code language and discerning, really just discernment in general from the Holy Spirit, which I had actually been benefiting from prior to getting saved because God was working on me. The Holy Spirit had entered my life in a major way a couple of years leading up to getting saved. I don't know what else to call it. I had been looking for a word when, before I was saved, I had felt this presence in my life, this extreme peace and just this clarity of mind and purpose and discernment, the ability to discern truth, and that I was always just going on the right direction suddenly, and it was the Holy Spirit. And so right after I got saved, I had a hard time listening to a lot of the music that I had always loved. I was always into like grunge, rock, and also hip hop, like older hip hop, but grunge was a big thing when I was a teenager, and Nirvana was like my favorite band ever, and it totally ruined my life when I started liking Nirvana at 13. I mean, overnight, literally ruined my life. Went from not having a favorite band, liking anything from the Backstreet Boys to Radiohead on a soundtrack. I mean, it just, I was not a music snob, to buying a bunch of CDs for my 13th birthday. What a coinky dink, 13. And my best friend, the one that I've been talking about, she was there for my party anyway. I bought all these early 90s CDs and stuff that I remembered liking from my childhood, basically, but mostly rock, grunge, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana. Listened to Nirvana, and overnight was a different person. Became extremely self-destructive. Didn't go to school for a week. I told my grandmother I was sick. I locked myself in our guest house, and I proceeded to dye my hair black, rip up all my Abercrombie and Fitch, turn it inside out, and cut my arms. Just do it was a demon. It was a spirit. Demons aren't really always that scary. Sometimes they're just really lame and emo, and whatever works. Well, so that I came back unrecognizable. And nobody else in my school was into that. This was a weird time to go grunge. It was like 1999, so it wasn't retro yet, but it just wasn't cool anymore. And I just wanted to be Kurt Cobain. But anyway, once I got saved, I had no ability to listen to Nirvana. Nirvana isn't the worst of them. It's not the most subversive. Kurt Cobain, I don't believe, had a black heart. Let's just say that. And I think partly the reason he died, I think they always kill the ones that are decent. But he was very deceived, and I do believe My Own Private Idaho was about him. And some of the research on that's very compelling. I think that he was a victim. I don't think that living under the bridge story was all what it seemed as a teenager. I think he was a gay hustler. That's just, I could be wrong, but either way, I don't think he was a bad person. But I couldn't listen to his music anymore. It glorified all the wrong things. But strangely, even though like Red Hot Chili Peppers, totally out the window too, except for like a couple songs. Soundgarden, though, I found, not only could I listen to it, I loved it even more. I always loved Soundgarden, but I finally understood the lyrics one of the things I liked about Soundgarden was that I didn't understand the lyrics, so it made me think they were deep. They are, but I understood them, finally, after this whole revelation. And I realized Chris was always talking about all of this stuff. And this was before anybody had caught on to that. He wasn't dead yet. Nobody was talking about Chris Cornell. But, he used code language that was familiar to me from, my experience with my best friend. He was a conscientious objector, shall we say. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure he was a victim, probably from childhood, and that he was programmed. And I think that's why he kept marrying these terrible women. I think they were handling him. And I think he would probably, like my best friend, he would remember who he was, what happened to him, and what he wanted to do about it, and then he would forget. I think there was just this back and forth to some degree always of him being under control again and waking up and becoming a problem. Because his songs were so often just about how disgusted he was with the people around him and the Satanism, and but a feeling of hopelessness and an inability to escape. Then when he did Audio Slave, that song "I Am the Highway," that's all about breaking free from mind control, because they use vehicular code language when they're talking about programming. So like songs like The Passenger from Iggy Pop, that's all about programming. That's programming script. The vehicle is the like my best friend's dad said that he inherited the vehicle from his father, and that she had inherited the vehicle from him. And it means to inherit the ability, the predisposition to be one of these programmed slaves that essentially operates as a meat puppet for either demons or fallen angels, or both. I think perhaps it depends on how high level you are. And, I know for a fact there was times when these entities were directly speaking to me through my friend's mouth and her family's mouth, and it wasn't them. And it wasn't scary. They would just say things that would not make any sense coming from this person's mouth. Because, if they realized, because the punchline was always, these people that you love, they are on their way straight to hell, and they don't even realize it. They don't realize that all the lies we've told them about how they're going to escape judgment, are false, and, basically like rubbing it in my face, that there was nothing I could do. And there was no reason at all that these people would say that themselves, because if they knew that, they wouldn't be doing it. So, anyway, I Am the Highway, he talks about, I'm not your rolling wheels, I'm the highway, I'm not your, I don't know, look up the lyrics, but it is, just like the band Cake. If you listen to Cake, my friend told me specifically that band is very Masonic, and they have a song called Satan is My Motor, and a lot of their songs are about, involve vehicular code. If you listen, a lot of pop songs and a lot of songs in general don't make any sense unless you think about it through this code language. And there's a lot of, for some reason, vehicular metaphors in pop songs, I've noticed. And anyway, trying to think of examples. Blow Up the Outside World is a good example. Not only the song, but the video by Soundgarden. It's all about mind control, being frustrated. Black Hole Sun, I really believe, is about him wanting to escape, or him wanting to, at the very least, see the destruction of these people. Now, I don't really understand the Black Sun thing, and I don't know if he thought at the time that it would come through, if that Black Hole Sun represented God's victory, or some other victory, some esoteric thing that he was told would happen. I really don't know, but I understand the spirit of the song. And there's just so many songs you go through But I realized this, this was months before he died. And if you could look through my comment history, you'd actually see me leaving comments about it. I bet you I left a comment to Titus Frost about frantically like saying, oh my gosh, this is what Chris Cornell's been talking about. And I began to fear for his safety, because I started to realize that anybody like him, they are marked for death, like if they don't support the whole thing, they're not allowed to occupy positions of power and admiration for very long. If they are conscientious objectors, they are eventually killed, because the older they get, the more risk they run of these people talking. So I didn't think his death was imminent, but I was certain they would kill him. And I even thought about contacting him, because I thought, well, maybe I can, I don't know. I just wanted to tell him that I knew, like I understood, because I wondered if anybody had ever said that, because his lyrics are so coded, and, he's just always been such a private guy, and he was always a class act, and, anyway, I decided, I didn't know how to contact him, and I didn't think anything would come of it, but I felt this real, just strong concern, and I love and admiration for this man. Like, it was profound. Like, I just, because he was somebody I had always admired, and then to find out he was like the one guy that like I had idolized, who was actually, probably not the only one, but one of the few that was a really good dude, and he was on our side, and he had always been talking about it, and I'd only just had gotten the ears to hear it. And he was murdered, and they killed me. Look, I don't have psychic premonitions. I am not psychic. I'm a little bit, like, intuitive, you could say, like, especially emotionally when it comes to, like, trying to, like, where people are coming from. But I don't claim any types of dreams or visions, except a couple of weird things that happened right after I got saved. It's all the Holy Spirit. It's not me. Like, I don't, and I'm not even one of the people who says, like Rick Wiles, oh, it's the Holy Spirit, don't give me any credit, as he self-aggrandizes about all of his predictions, a lot of which he doesn't tell us until after they come true, right? Don't get me started on that. I hate when people do that. So I'm not doing that. But this is important just because, it's not a coincidence. And I just want people to understand, like, I really felt like God put in my heart that Chris was one of the good ones. And he gave me that love and that admiration. And, there's a good chance, I believe, I don't know, I don't care what Chris ever said publicly. I think there's a good chance he was a believer. It's very complicated when people are under mind control. I don't know if that's why he started acting out against the whole thing and funding that documentary, and, eventually they killed him. I don't know. But I just have this feeling. I don't believe that God would have let him die unsaved trying to protect children. I just don't. And I could be wrong. I don't know how it all works. But the point is, that is one of the ways, this was a lesson from the Holy Spirit. I may have to make a part 2 on this, because Spreaker only gives me a few minutes. This is a lesson from the Holy Spirit, teaching me how to discern his voice from my own imagination or my own musings. Because I remember before Chris died, I was, I couldn't figure out, like, is this, are you telling me this information, God? Or is this just imagination? Am I projecting? Am I seeing this stuff everywhere now? And that was an important thing for God to show me, that no, this is real. You're not imagining any of it. And, otherwise I could have gotten, pretty confused about that eventually. When everybody else is not seeing it or doesn't believe it. So anyway, I'm going to make part 2. But, I guess I'll just stop it now so I can go ahead.